Hello everybody! Let's take a look at the DK Unholy spec. I have always loved the Unholy spec as it's just very reminiscent to the Diablo 2 Necromancer. Of course, while wearing plate. Alright, level 56, we got All Will Serve, Bursting Sores, and Ebon Fever. I went with the Bursting Sores because it is passive, your Festering Wounds deal 50% more damage when they burst, and now all enemies within 8 yards of that burst will suffer AoE damage. And it's really amazing how much burst damage you can do with something like that. 57, you have Epidemic, Pestilent Pustules, and Blighted Rune Weapon. I would recommend Epidemic, because it causes your virulent plagues within 100 yards to flare up, dealing a fair amount of damage to the infected enemies and an additional damage to all other enemies near them. So again, this works really well with the Bursting Sores as it increases your AoE damage. In my mind, the Unholy DK is really kind of spec towards doing damage to everything, whereas, of course, Blood is just a tank survivability, and the Frost is really good at fighting just a couple of things but doing massive damage to them. 58, we have the Unholy Frenzy, Castigator, and Clawing Shadows. I went with the Castigator, which causes each Festering Strike crit to apply 2 additional Festering Wounds. Each Scourge Strike critical strike bursts 1 additional Festering Wounds. So, Festering Strike crits put more Festering Wounds on them, and the Scourge Strike crits burst more wounds, dealing more AoE damage. Level 60 is basically, how do you want to run? Do you want to have a more powerful, like, Beast Mastery spec, or not? If you are interested in that, as I am, I recommend getting the Sludge Belcher. Instead of getting a Ghoul, you're going to get an Abomination that is stronger than the Ghoul with more abilities. Level 75, I went with Corpse Shield simply because I'm now running with a more powerful guy. If I get into a really bad spot of trouble, I tag that, and for 10 seconds I'm taking like no damage. You know, let the Sludge Belcher take it. He don't mind. Level 90, again, this one can go either way as far as Shadow Infusion or Infected Claws. Infected Claws is what I went with, causing your Abomination's Cleaver attack to have a chance to cause Festering Wounds on the targets that it hits. So your pet will put dots on things, and I really like that. Whereas Shadow Infusion is better at making your pet transform into its larger, better, stronger form more often. So this one is really kind of a situational thing. Infected Claws is going to be really good if you're fighting a ton of things, whereas Shadow Infusion is going to be really good in probably more circumstances. So again, this one can go either way, guys. Level 100, you have the Dark Arbiter, Defile, and Soul Reaper. Now the Dark Arbiter is great for single target burst damage. But again, that's what you're going to get. 15 seconds of additional burst damage every 3 minutes. Whereas Soul Reaper is just more useful in the terms of stacking up your haste, which is basically going to make you attack 7% faster, stacking up to 3, of course, which gives you 21% more haste, which will, of course, increase your overall damage way more often. Dark Arbiter, you got one strong boss that you need to down quick. That's probably going to be the smarter choice. But in more groups, more often, Soul Reaper is how you want to go. I really hope this video was able to help some of you guys out there. And I finally got my Facebook running, so if you guys want to keep up on my day-to-day activities, go ahead and check that out, and I'd love to make a few friends. Thanks, guys.